Hi everyone, it's Rajiv Datta and welcome to Agents by the Agents, NSD Brokers discussion series where we bring you the latest insights and perspective from the leaders of the real estate world. And today we are honored to have a very special guest with us who's a renowned expert in pre-construction field and has made a significant impact on the industry. Please join me in giving a warm welcome to our guest, Dominic Tompa, President and Broker of Record at the Daniels Realty Corporation. Welcome, Dominic, to Agents for the Agents by the Agent discussion series. So we are honored to have you here. We couldn't ask a better guest. Of course, we are going to learn a lot from your experience, and my colleagues also, we are going to learn a lot from your experience. When I was reading about the Daniels the other day, I found out that Daniels Corporation was started in 1984. And you told me in one of our conversations that you also started real estate in 1984. So 4 decades of journey, how you reflect back on that?
Daniels itself was founded by Mr. John Daniels, and he was in the industry long before he started the Daniels Corporation. So Mr. Daniels was chairman of Cadillac Fairview. Going back to, he was in the industry from the 1950s, and he is what I would call a true icon of this industry. People like Mr. Daniels built so much of the city of Toronto. When you think of buildings like the Eaton Centre, it's an iconic mall, and the TD Centre downtown, so much of Erin Mills. I mean, he was a driving force of building what was then, at that time, the town of Erin Mills. So he's just had such a huge mark and impact on this industry. It's incredible that he started the Daniels Corporation after retiring from Cadillac Fairview. And he did it alongside Mitchell Cohen, who's our president and CEO. So Mitchell Cohen was part of that inception of the Daniels Corporation right from the beginning. Mitchell Cohen has truly been the leader that has shaped the way the Daniels Corporation has gone forward since 1984. It's always been a focus on community building. It's about, yes, we're a developer and a builder, but we always think from a standpoint of we want to build communities. It's one of the reasons why you see when most of the projects we do, they're not one-off buildings. They're always where we can actually alter the landscape of a community. And we want to build the infrastructure. We want to build the social aspects of a community. Great example, Regent Park in the downtown core, where we've helped to revitalize much of the 69 acres of that community. And it's a completely different community now that since we started back in 2007. So that's kind of been the focus of the Daniels Corporation over the last 40 years. Now, I didn't start with the Daniels Corporation 40 years ago. I started as a resale agent in my early 20s. I looked like I was about 15 years old. So you can imagine how challenging it was for me. Going to people and saying, this is the biggest investment of your life and give it to me to help you sell it or buy. But it taught me a lot of lessons along the way. And I think, when you think about how real estate is different in the sense of how we sell real estate today, but the fundamental of what will make you successful is still the same. And when you come down to it, the fundamentals are about what? Relationship. When you think about yourself as a broker, it's your relationship with your fellow agents. It's your relationship with your clients. Your clients need to believe in you. They need to trust you, right? They need to think that you've got the knowledge and the market knowledge to help them in this biggest investment they're going to make. Investment you've made in your relationships with developers like ourselves. As a developer, I want to be working with agents like yourself who are friends, someone I trust, someone when I know when you're coming in and you're bringing in your client, that you've educated your client, you're looking after the interests of your client, and you're going to be there, not just when you're signing the agreement, but right up until closing, helping that client and helping us make it a good experience for that client.
And then that client is always with you. If you're with that client from the signing of agreement till the closing and after closing services, you become their family realtor, like we have a family doctor, or God forbid if you need a family lawyer also. But I think a realtor should work like a family realtor, get involved, help them. Don't say that, okay, I got the APA signed now, they're in the hands of their own lawyer or the builder. So when you have a client like that, you give them the service like that. So that client is going to come back to you for resale, for pre-construction, for assignments. So always go for that, as Dominic said. Dominic, you was mentioning that Daniels built, say whether we were talking about TD Center, Eaton Center. I heard that, correct me if I'm wrong, Daniel is one of the few developers in GTA who has their own construction company. So first of all, for my colleagues, what does that mean when we say they have their own construction company?
Well, thank you for bringing that up, because that is one of the real distinguishing differences between ourselves and most of the developers that are out there today. Most developers are going to move a project from the land phase to sales, but once the building is sold, they're actually hiring a general contractor to build the building for them. And once you do that, you lose control of what's going on, right? So Daniels is, from the beginning to the end, totally vertically integrated. What I mean by that is we are in control of the whole process, from the moment we buy a piece of land, going through the development process, going through the whole implementation and creative process of what that's going to look like, through to the sales team is in-house, our construction team is in-house, warranty team. So you're always dealing with someone, which I like to say has skin in the game, right?
Yeah.
They're employees of that company. There's no divided loyalties. Their only objective is to make sure that we are delivering that top-notch experience. It's the reason why Daniels has, over the years, almost always been in the top two when they come to the awards from Tarion, from the Build. We've won it last year, both provincially and from Build.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to boast about it, but I think it's a result of the experience that our clients are having. And it's by having our own construction company, we're able to control that experience. Most other developers, as you did mention, there's maybe a handful that build their own product. The rest are relying on a contractor to build it. And that kind of lets go of quality control. Whenever you talk to clients who've purchased from a developer where they're unhappy with, say, their PDI, pre-delivery inspection experience, where they walk into this, they're supposed to move into in 2 weeks, and there's no bedroom doors up, or, I talked to someone recently who said the kitchen cabinets weren't even in, and they're like, how do I move into a place without kitchen cabinets, right? That's not going to happen when you buy from Daniels, because we're in control of that situation, and we're not going to deliver a product unless it's finished properly.
Well, that's great. And in the end, it benefits our buyers. So as a realtor, we feel more confident, when we are selling through Daniels, and the history also. Big elephant in the room, we should address that. No cancellations. Those things actually help us, especially in today's market, to promote a project to our clients also. We can tell them, okay, look, this is a developer who do their own construction, good track record, and your project will be completed.
That's an important thing right there. It's something that sometimes is almost made light of in the industry, and kind of you say, oh, that one was canceled, and you say it kind of like with a chuckle. But the reality for your client is that it's important to share the information on who you're doing business with, right? There's so many developers today who are selling condominiums who've never built a single building. There's no track record because they haven't done anything, but all they are doing is selling something. I'm not saying that they're not going to build it, and I'm not going to say it's not going to be a lovely building, but you can't really compare that track record to someone who's been building for 40 years and has delivered over 40,000 units into the marketplace in the last 40 years. In the type of market we're in, where there is some uncertainty, let's be honest, there's been projects that have been canceled in the last 18 months. In the next 6 to 9 months, you'll probably see more projects get canceled. And the question becomes, like, why do they get canceled? A lot of times is just what we talked about. They don't build it themselves, and when they priced it, they didn't build in the pricing properly for the build. And even though they sold well, they can't build it for the price that they sold it at. And then the bank won't. You get into this complicated scenario where the bank says, well, we don't care if you've sold enough suites. We don't think you can build it at that, and we're not going to finance it. Today, more than ever, dealing with a developer who's been through the ups and downs. I mean, Daniels has been through the really great busy times. We've been through some really challenging markets, like in the 1990s, which was probably very similar to what we're seeing right now. But we've gone through all of those.
2008.
And through those entire times, we never sold anything. We didn't build and deliver.
That also a conversation you was having with one of my colleagues, and so I'm gonna steal his lines. When we were buying pre-construction, sometimes you are when the market is hot, you are so much into it. Okay, we have 2-bedroom unit, close to 800 square feet, 2 washroom. Okay, book this for me. But they will not. Every 2-bedroom, 2-washroom unit is same, so they will be layout will be different, and how Daniel helps our client to pick a better floor plan.
I'm so glad you brought this up because it's actually been one of my pet peeves over the last few years.
Yeah.
And during this market, as you mentioned, when it's been really busy, you have a buyer who wants to buy a 2-bedroom. Let's use that as an example. And it's presented to them like every 2-bedroom is the same.
Same, yeah.
But of course it's not.
It's not.
Right? And so some developers, in order to end up with a really low end price, they would create very small 2-bedroom suites.
2 bedrooms, yeah.
Right? And on a floor plan, it may look about the same as one that's a little bit larger until you actually do your pre-delivery inspection and you realize the 2nd bedroom is the size of a closet.
Yeah.
And you're going to put a day bed in there. It's not going to be a real bedroom. I think it's important when you come in to look at the floor plans is to really pay attention to the measurements. And actually, if you can, go home, get a tape measure, and measure out what those rooms are like. So you can get some feeling of what it's like, because it can be really deceiving when I've got to tell you, I've been doing this for 40 years, and I still sometimes can't look at a floor plan and really picture what that size is going to translate to. But if I can measure it out and kind of look around that room, I get a feel of that. And I tell everybody to do that, regardless of what size suite they want to get. If they're going to buy a 1-bedroom, measure it out. Then go home and check out your bedroom and measure out your bed. You've got a couple of night tables, whatever you have. Will it actually fit in there? Right? And how will it look? So it's taking the time to do that. Now, our team on the floor really wants to help buyers get the information they need. We're not in a rush just to get you to pick a suite and sign an agreement and move on, because everyone that works with us is in-house. Our sales team isn't going to be working for some other developer sales site next week. Right? So it's very important to them because they're going to be living that experience. If you bought from them, they're going to be there to answer the phone if you were unhappy. So, so what we do with our salespeople, we really think of them more as service. Sometimes calling them salespeople might be even misleading because they do so many different things, right? Salespeople are not on commission. Their incentive isn't to sell it to get commission. They're salaried employees like the rest of our team. And because of that, whether you're in the process where you're signing an agreement or you've signed an agreement and you're moving in, they're trying to service it in the same way, because there's no incentive just to sell and then, we forget about you, right?
And our colleagues, they should also help their clients to pick up a floor plan. Of course, the final decision will be your buyer's decision, but your input is always helpful. And keep one thing in mind, looking at the floor plan, but eventually your client will ask you to resell it, maybe down the road after 5 years, 10 years. And at that time, the potential buyers are going to look at the finished product. So there's a huge difference. So pick your floor plans very carefully. But another thing, Dominic, we're talking about the recent market. What's happening in the market right now? There are lots of potential buyers. They want to, because housing is, everyone needs that. They want to buy something. They want to move into their own place where they can call that home, but the problem is having not enough savings to put 20% down for a purchase of a home. So how Daniel helps us to help our clients in that regard?
Well, the advantage of new construction is that there's a certain amount of what I call runway from when you purchase to when you move in. So you can actually do a lot better planning. Like when you think of resale, you've got to be ready to close in 60 days, maybe 90 days, but somewhere in that type of time frame, right? So if you need to have, say, 10% down to get your mortgage, you need to have that money already. By the time you sign your agreement, you can't wait and accumulate it over time. In pre-construction, a typical high-rise building will take, in building time, let's say up to 4 years. And so you can be looking at buying today, moving in 4.5 years later. So you can actually plan it. And so what we try to do with our deposits is stretch them out so that you're not having to give it to us all at once. So you're going to give us a small amount when you're signing your agreement. You're going to bring it up to 5%, maybe 30 days later, but the next 5% may not be due for 250 days. And every project's a little different when we do it. But our objective there is to give the buyer some time to plan so that, if they've got a savings plan in their mind of they're taking, $1,000 out of their paycheck every few weeks, they can do that and they can work with it that way. So they don't have to, they can come in and buy before they actually have that total down payment, because they have the luxury of knowing they've been given a stretched out calendar for bringing that deposit in.
Yeah. Another thing, Dominic, I always urge my colleagues here, don't put all your eggs in one basket. Don't say that, okay, I'm going to do resale, so I'm just going to be in resale, or I'm going to just say do pre-con, I'm just in pre-con. If you're doing resale, it's easy for you to still do few deals in pre-construction as well. It's not that you have to leave your resale business. Nobody wants to leave and get rid of their business which is running good. Say one of my colleague who has never sold anything in pre-construction, but they want to get into there, but like everyone else, they are a little afraid of how I'm going to sell that. I never sold a pre-con before. So what is the best advice for them?
So first of all, I have nothing against someone only doing pre-con. But our objective is actually to help that agent to get into the pre-con industry. Because you're right, they don't have to give up on resale. It might be their bread and butter. But they can certainly increase the volume of business they're doing by diversifying their portfolio of the business they do. But you need to learn the business a bit, right? So actually, we're planning on doing a number of sessions this year for that type of agent who wants to learn about how do I sell? Because you don't want to show up at the sales office with your buyer and be embarrassed because you don't understand how it works. So we're going to hold educational type events for agents who've never worked pre-con, an opportunity to learn how it works, to learn how do you secure a suite, how do you read a floor plate, right? All these things are important. It's not just the floor plan, but the floor plate.
Floor plates,
you've got a floor plate that's kind of attached to the floor plan, and your buyer says to you, what's that over here? And you've got to be able to answer that that's the staircase, the emergency staircases. Otherwise, you don't look that. They're relying on you, right? So it's important that you're able to answer those types of questions. So we plan on spending time helping to educate agents who'd like to get into the pre-con market so that they can be prepared and help their clients through that. And that will help them build their business because it's a profitable business.
Of course,
right now, a lot of these agents are giving up that business to other agents who are doing more pre-con. And some of them are feeling that they have to go to one of those agents and give them part of their commission in order to get access. And we, as a company, our philosophy is we want to deal directly with you. I don't want to pay someone who's just selling access to the Daniels Corporation. I want you to come to us directly, and we'll work with new agents. We'll work with all agents to help them to get into the business and help them be successful when they bring their clients in.
So that's great news. So another thing you can do, the Daniels website is on the screen right now. Visit that website and you will have all the Daniels current projects, the projects which they are selling, closing soon or closing in few years. All those projects are there. And Dominic, do you advise them to at least visit few sales centers just to get the feeling of the project, where the location is, and your sales staff will help them to understand the project even before they bring in their clients?
Absolutely. So you can always go to danielshomes.ca, right? And you can see the different projects that we have on the go. But definitely come into the presentation center or give us a call in advance because, before you bring your client in. So get a chance to come in. We're happy to set up an appointment and sit down with you for 30, 45 minutes and just talk to you about the project, talk to you about the things you may be concerned about. What are the types of issues that you want to make sure you're going to look good when you're talking to your client? So we want to be able to help you be ready for that. So having that pre-appointment before your client even comes in will help you do a better job when your client comes in. And it's just so important that when you present to your client, that they can see that you've got the knowledge of what you're talking about.
Of course, So Daniel helps you with all that, and I hope that you take advantage of that. Another question, Dominic. You've been doing this for almost 4 decades now. You told me not to repeat that again and again.
I was selling real estate on horseback.
And I just have one question, Dominic. How, there are challenges in every field. So when my colleagues here, they jump from resale to pre-con, there will be challenges also. Do you have any advice for them, how they should handle that, how they should go about?
I think when you're coming from a resale background and you want to get into pre-con, I think you've got to take it in slow bits, right? Pre-con is a very attractive business from a standpoint of the commissions are quite high, right? You're generally getting 4%. You think of a resale, you're getting, I think, 2.5% nowadays.
2.5%, yeah.
Sometimes less if you're on the
Less than
listing
that,
end, right? The pre-con, you're getting 4%. If you really get established in it, the other nice thing is from how you can plan your life. Because we sell during mostly business hours. Yes, we're open on Saturday and Sunday, but we close at 5 on a Saturday, close at 5 on a Sunday. You can actually have a life where you can have your family, you can do things, and you can plan when you're going to bring your clients in. We all know nothing wrong with the resale business. I did it for 20 years. There's just no fixed hours. You're running around all the time, right? It's a really well-paying business, and it's something that you can really establish a balanced lifestyle if you're doing pre-con. But it can be hard to just jump into it full-time right away. I think it's good to hold on to your kind of resale bread and butter as you build your pre-con business. Course, and it's also because the commissions don't come in the same way as resale. If you sell a resale home, right, you're going to sign the agreement today, closes in 60 days, and about 10 days later, you're going to see your money, right? In pre-con, you're going to get usually half the commission after there's 10% deposits in. The other half is on final closing. Now, when earlier talked about the runway as being 4 years, that means you're not seeing your final closing commissions for 4 years. Now, once you've got that running and you've got a nice flow going, you're going to get a lot of nice commissions coming in. But the first couple of years, you're not seeing those huge commissions coming in because they're all a little bit deferred. It's back end loaded, right? So that's why it's good to hang on to that resale bread and butter as you try to get into the pre-con. But what you want to do in going initially into pre-con is build your knowledge base. And developers like us, there's other developers as well who are very helpful with agents. Take all of the educational seminars and opportunities we give you to learn how to do things in the pre-con field. We really want to make sure that we talked about earlier, developing the relationships. And part of having a good relationship is us trying to help you, just like you're trying to help us by bringing us clients, right? So lean on those relationships, count on those relationships. And if you do that and build it slowly, pre-con is a fantastic business, and you'll eventually say, I'm not going to do the resale, I'm just going to do pre-con.
Pre-con, Thank you very much, Dominic. As always, your insights has been invaluable. And you guys also, if you want to make your career in pre-construction, feel free to reach me out. My number and name is on the screen. Well, thank you very much again, Dominic. It was a pleasure having you.
Yeah, it's been wonderful.